You know, when you're watching a story time on TikTok and somebody's telling a story about their interaction or experience with a big brand or celebrity, and they don't name the brand or celebrity, which is frustrating because how do we know who we're going to investigate or keep accountable? Yeah, this isn't that. This is actually a bit messy. Hi everyone, my name is Arika. This is Frequently Dramatic. Here on this channel, I talk about whatever I want. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm doing okay. My face is breaking out. I'm on my period. I started going to a new gym recently, and the gym virus is trying to get me. I'm not going to lie. I've been like sneezing and coughing. Not really coughing, more like just my throat is like burning the back of my throat. So sneezing, dealing with that for like the last 2 days. It's trying. And I'm fighting back, but not feeling my absolute best, especially with my period. It's just, there's too much going on, you know? I'm on the struggle bus. I'm not going to lie. So into today's story, we have a story time from this guy named Teva on TikTok. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is currently renovating a old home. It looks like a castle in Hollywood that his mom left for him when she died. And he is translating a story to us about his experience with Kat Von D. And if you don't know who Kat Von D is, she's a famous tattoo artist. Not sure if she still does tattoos, but back in the early 2000s, she's really popular because I think she was on Miami Ink specifically. I think it's Miami Ink. I remember seeing her on. But when I first saw the story on TikTok, really intriguing because he seems very passionate about what he's talking about. And then the fact that in the end of telling the story, he actually named Kat Von D. He seems like he has a lot of zeal.
Morning. I'm going to tell a story that I have had close to my chest since I was a kid. I wasn't able to tell the story or allowed to. Many years ago, my sweet mom had signed an NDA with a celebrity in order to avoid trial and get a settlement. The thing is I didn't sign an NDA because I was just a kid. Well, my mom is no longer here. I want the story to be told because I think that celebrities should be held truly accountable for their actions.
So after this introduction, I was like very intrigued because hello, NDA signed to protect somebody from wrongdoing. Always very interesting.
For one time I was here with my parents. They were maybe working on something at the house, and I got to meet her, the person renting, and I saw the way that she had lived, and it was bizarre. There were candles everywhere. The house burned. There was a ginormous fire that took place. It was negligence, and the arson investigators declared that it was a candle fire. I just want to give context. There were holes throughout the hardwood floors, smoke damage in the entire home. The only reason that it was, it stood was because it's made from stone. Now, I want to be abundantly clear about something. My mom passed due to cancer. Our family believes that the stress of the fires and the restoration process and the lawsuit is truly what brought it back with such vengeance. Another thing I want to make clear is this person that rented the home and then caused a massive fire throughout the house due to her own negligence had the audacity to send my mom hate mail, hateful, spiteful emails. She was in denial. She was a liar, a narcissist, truly a mean person.
Yeah, so cancer is tricky, right? Because stress in some cases could cause people to actually develop cancer. If you already have cancer, it could make it worse. I could see a house burning down, not burning down, but the inside of a house being so damaged from a fire, how that could increase somebody's stress. And then on top of that, someone sending you hate mail and possibly taking you to court. Yeah, that it's not cool, especially if they're responsible for the fire.
All the while, she actually used the home and claimed that it was hers on her TV show, which my mom said she wasn't allowed to do, but didn't have the energy or the heart to pursue her for that.
Now, with the whole using the home in a TV show, so I used to work in LA. I used to work on music videos. I worked on a couple movies, and a lot of times people rent out like their personal like mansions and stuff. Well, obviously music videos and stuff, but also sometimes celebrities would rent homes that are not actually theirs when they're in a reality TV show, just because it either adds to the character for security reasons, that kind of stuff. So that makes sense. But saying here that she didn't have permission for the show to film within the home, yeah, that is awkward because a lot of times these places, like I said, they rent out their homes specifically for that. And that comes with a lot of liability because there's also always the chance of these heavy cameras and the tripods, how big the crew is. Sometimes a crew is like over 100 people. If you have extras, because yes, extras do appear in reality TV shows. If somebody's like hosting an event at their home for the reality TV show, all of that stuff like ups the chance of the home getting destroyed or getting damaged, which again, with these mansions and stuff, a lot of them are like, one, they're expensive, and or two, they have like a lot of like precious items in them. But yeah, not having permission to film in a home is a pretty big deal in my opinion.
So, Kat Von D, I am that little kid that you met back in the day who you destroyed the family home of with your negligence and your candle obsession. Thankfully, my parents won the lawsuit against you, but that didn't take away the stress that both of my parents endured dealing with you.
Oop. When I saw this picture of Kat Von D standing here and like looking back at it, looking at it now, like realizing she's standing in the burnt home is crazy.
Now, I thought long and hard about whether or not I should forgive this person, Kat Von D. And the truth of the matter is my mom, I don't think, would forgive her for the stress that she put our family through. The life experience is short. When you have to deal with people like this, it really does strip off yours. And I believe that I watched that happen with my own mom in real time. In this world, there are people who carry light energy and then dark energy, people whose souls work for light and dark. Kat Von D, I believe, is on the dark side. And my family, my dear mom, had to be on the receiving end of that. So I do not forgive her.
You know, if one thing Teva is a good storyteller, I'm gonna tell you that. Kat has responded, so we're going to see what her response is. But on his note about energy, I do agree. I personally, if I say I don't like somebody, it's either they did something to me or they deeply disturbed my spirit. And I don't know if that is just Caribbean culture or what, but like I understand what he's saying about people's energy. Though in this situation, I will say what he's saying is reliable because he is reacting to a situation. I guess in his eyes, she did do something to him and his family. So unforgiven Kat Von D, yeah, I mean, that's his right and his choice, you know. Before I address the opening of Kat's response video here, why was the top comment on Tiva's video from Jeffree Star? Jeffree, you don't have too much money, you know. You don't have like, where do you get all this spare time? You know, you're running a whole ranch, you have your makeup business, all this stuff. How are you always in things? Like always. This is what I want to know, okay? And his his comment reads, I know what really happened. I'm so sorry your family had to go through this. I'm gonna just leave that right there. But how is it always Jeffree Star?
This week I've been accused of burning down a house and contributing to the death of a woman with cancer. And, you know, I want to be as respectful as I can in this video, but it's also very hard not to be disheartened by this man's accusations. And not just that, but also just how quick people, they see a video on TikTok and then they just think not to question the other side to it.
I do believe, obviously, Kat Von D has every right to come onto the internet and defend herself. I will say, okay, she was already getting ripped up in Teva's video comments, you know? So, like, I don't know if she consulted with anybody from PR or anything, but I definitely think, like, this wasn't the right way to open up this video. To be honest, it doesn't come off as sympathetic. If you're trying to win hearts and minds, like, I don't think this was the right energy to, you know, to open up with this video with, oh my gosh, this guy had that, you know, like, that's the vibe it's given.
And I definitely feel forced to do this. This incident happened, I believe, almost 16 years ago now. So it's kind of crazy to think that it's coming up now. But here we are. So let's get into it. Teva is accusing me of burning down his mother's house because I was lighting candles, which is not true. I wasn't even in the home when the fire happened. I was on a book tour. He's also accusing me of having made his mom sign an NDA to where she wasn't allowed to talk about a lawsuit or anything that happened with the fire, which is not true either. We have had people sign NDAs, landlords or people that we do any business with in the beginning when we sign contracts, just so that people aren't selling my information to, at the time, tabloids and things.
This is very interesting information because Kat Von D is saying she was on a book tour, which if she was on a book tour, then there's no way she was in a home, you know, unless somebody else was staying there who could have possibly lit the candles. And then the other thing with the NDA, I was also thinking this is strange that she had them sign an NDA after the fact when she was at fault for destroying their home. You know, like that doesn't sound very legal. But if she's saying that the NDA was signed in the beginning before they even signed the lease, that makes a lot of sense because, you know, as a celebrity living in Hollywood, you probably don't want people to be able to freely be able to say, well, hey, Kat Von D lives at my house, you know what I'm saying? So I could understand that because that's probably more protecting herself, her family, her friends, her identity, where she stays, her security, that kind of stuff. So Kat goes on to describe the size of the house, and from what she's saying, the house seems very small: 1 bedroom, a kitchen, a basement. So it's not like a big mansion. It's pretty small, but it does have a lot of character.
The arson specialist, the official arson fire guys that came over to inspect everything literally told us that it was not a candle fire, that this was most likely started in the basement in that old recording studio from some type of faulty wires or from the panel. The reason I bring up this panel electrical situation is because I have the emails where I had asked Deborah on several occasions and told her that there was electrical issues in the house, specifically with the panel and also with this garage door that she refused to get professionally fixed. And I understand people are struggling with money or, trying to save money where they can. But instead of sending out professionals, she kept sending out her husband, who was not a trained electrician. And I brought that to her attention several times.
That is a very good point. I'm sure some of us have horror stories with landlords who are not cutting corners by doing things themselves when they're not qualified. There is a difference if the landlord is qualified to do these things. Sure. But if, there's two occasions where there's sparks in the house and your tenant is, bringing these concerns to you, I definitely think that is when you need to like hire somebody professionally to come and fix these things.
No one came out of the situation unscathed. I am very fully aware that she lost her home, like, the home that she owned. I lost the home that I lived in. The fire took everything from me. I mean, I literally had nothing. I lost all my clothes, my computer, my hard drives, all my photos. I mean, there's like a huge, massive gap in my life that is just went up in flames. And most importantly, my little kitten, Valentine, was in the house when the fire happened. The firefighters told me that thankfully she didn't burn alive. I mean, I would hate to imagine that she suffered that way. They found her in my bed and she was asleep, so most likely they said that like the smoke inhalation killed her.
That sounds so traumatic. I personally lost a pet a few years ago and I still am not over it. So I imagine that was not something that was like easy to go through.
I didn't set the house on fire. This was a tragedy and it was out of both of our controls. And I would never wish that on anybody. So, to frame it in the way that you're doing it it's hard not to take offense to that.
So I do think, what Kat is saying, like where she thinks that it's unfair. I think that is fair for her to say, Teva, obviously he has a lot on his heart and, maybe him and his family, they do blame Kat Von D for this. But like, I do also think on the other end of somebody who's getting blamed for something like this, is also fair to say that I think I'm being treated unfairly or blamed unfairly for something that I probably didn't cause.
So last night as I was laying in bed and seeing an influx of all these comments calling me like a mom killer and an arson and all kinds of crazy things, I prayed about it and lost a lot of sleep over it.
Okay. Let me just say this. I have nothing against religion. I was raised religious. I'm no longer religious. I'm actually thinking about joining the Humanist Society. Don't take this as disrespect, but I do not like when people try to use their religion to wash their sense of self or identity to a mass of people or online. I don't know. We'll see if she says it again, but that is a little bit of a red flag to me.
He was a teenager when the fire happened, and so he's recounting a story through the lenses of, a son who loves his mom and whose mom is suffering. So I can't really hold that against him. But what I can hold against him is just the villainization that he's doing. And I hope that he's able to find peace somehow, but I'm definitely not going to be someone's emotional punching bag.
And I think what she said there about, he's a son who's like dealing with the loss of his mom is like absolutely fair. And I think is a really good point because, Teva is in his 30s now. And when he did experience this, he was a child. And I do think that it is difficult for a child to fully understand what is going on, especially with legal proceedings. Sometimes parents, I'm not a parent. Well, I have a dog, but, I'm not a parent to a child. But I do think a lot of times, sometimes parents say things in front of their children. It's not things that they can fully understand. And so all they're picking up on is the emotion of their parents. And, perhaps some of what he's feeling might be misplaced, though I do think it is his right to express his feelings. That is a really good point because maybe he does not fully understand what's going on at the time, even though he was there. I will also say where she expressed like her condolences and everything, that is exactly how the video should have opened, in my opinion, if you're trying to gain favor in public opinion, She goes on to share this email where in the email, it's to Kat, and in the email, he's basically saying, hey, the house looks great. That's great and all, but I don't think that is I don't like when people share emails like this because somebody paid you a compliment in the past or thanked you for giving them a gift. It does not mean that everything was hunky-dory the entire time. You know what I mean? And I don't think it leans merit to a situation where then the possibility of you burning down the house. You know what I mean? Like that is such a, what you call it, a canon event, the house fire. Things where you're being propped up, honestly, hold very little meaning to me. So then she goes on to share these other emails where she's basically asking them to come and check on the home, which perfectly in her right. It seems very professional. It doesn't seem disrespectful at all. I'll put it up on the screen for you guys. I'm not going to read it, but basically, yes, it is showing proof that she did ask them to come and do fixes to the home. The other email she shares is like actually kind of weird to me because in it, Teva's mom is asking Kat Von D if she's okay with the rent being raised. And from my understanding at this point, Kat was already living there for about 2 years. It is within the landlord's right, within reason, they raise the rent if your lease is up. I would also say it is very strange, like my landlord to give me a sub story on why they need to raise my rent. What? Like, that's very strange to me. So then she goes on to share an email where she basically pushes back because I guess the mom spoke in a disrespectful way to Kat staff. And I will say the email looks pretty professional. Again, it's up on screen for you guys to look at. I will say though, everything we've seen so far Nothing's really providing proof of what caused the fire, except that Kat Von D was asking Teva's mom to please fix the electrical. So far, there's been no proof either way to me. So let's just move on. Teva ended up posting another video. So Teva does say that Kat Von D is gaslighting him. I don't think she is. I think she is just rightfully rebutting what he said, which is, if somebody came online and told me that I was responsible for their mother dying, I think that I have the right to come online and defend myself.
The thing is, Kat was not expecting my mom to have set me up with her own email login right before her passing. So I have everything. Correspondence between attorneys, insurance demands, preparations for court if it came to that, and most importantly, the fire reports.
Oof. I just wish she had posted proof before and that it wasn't just like an emotional initial video that he posted. Though I don't know if he would have gotten the attention of people if he didn't post an emotional first video. Also, I don't know if he didn't think Kat would come back and rebut him. So he then puts up on screen some text. Teva is saying that there was a first fire. However, it's saying here that it was just smoke. I do think still if a candle was being left at home on while humans were not at home, that is very irresponsible, especially if you have pets, which according to Kat Von D, she had at least one cat living in the house with her, but I guess she switched them out for battery operated candles eventually. But still, that is really irresponsible. Does it give power to the theory that she's the cause of the second fire? I mean, I guess in a court of law you could present it to a jury and a jury could say it shows some sort of pattern, but she wasn't a book tour, so I don't think she was even in LA. So I don't know if it really applies in this situation. So the second fire, this is the fire that Teva is saying is the one that destroyed the home. These two paragraphs that he showed us here about fire 1 and 2 was from his parents' lawyer. So again, I don't think that's really proof either, because the job of your personal lawyer is to build your case. So it doesn't necessarily mean what is presented is like actual facts or is just there to cause doubt in the court of law. So still, waiting for proof, waiting for actual proof.
Well, now that you know that there wasn't one fire at the home, but 2 fires at the home, one of which resulted in serious destruction throughout the home, I am going to show you an official fire report from an investigator.
Okay, so this report that he's shown us from a fire investigator, I don't think this is from the actual fire department, fire investigator. It looks like it might be a private investigator, because again, I think he got this information from his parents' lawyer. So this you also have to take with a grain of salt, because in the court of law, honestly, one case could you have the defense and you have like the actual government, and both of them could hire 2 different expert witnesses who are testifying on the same thing, and based on their opinion it could be totally different things. So I think this as well we have to take with a grain of salt. But according to this fire investigator, he is saying the fire scene findings eliminated a malfunction of the structure's electrical and natural gas systems as having contributed in any way for the fire. Yeah, I mean, he's showing us screenshots, but I don't know if it's I do think you have to take it with a grain of salt. If you pay attention to the law and how things are done in court, you can have to realize who's presenting the information to you, why they presented the information to you, and how that informs the information that they are presenting to you. Again, witnesses, they could turn to certain information to make it sound a specific way to benefit whoever hired them.
Kat Von D goes on to make my mom out to sound as though she was a petty landlord, and she makes me sound like I'm a money-hungry son who's looking to make money off of the situation.
I will say, though, Kat Von D did not say that he's a money-hungry son who's trying to make money off of it. She was just simply defending herself. And, I really hate to be sitting on this internet defending Kat Von D, because I don't even like it that much. So, I hate that I'm doing this right now. I think Teva right now, he's just very understandably emotional because he lost his mom, and in his eyes, Kat Von D is the reason why. So maybe he isn't seeing or hearing things or thinking clearly when he's trying to express himself and coming more from a place of hurt rather than what is probably actually happening.
I recently found out that Kat Von D is a music artist. If you didn't know that, it's okay, I didn't either. I wanted to check out some of her music, and the names of her songs were enough for me. Will not be listening.
This has nothing to do with this. I feel bad laughing, but this has nothing to do with this. I think a lot of what he's saying and doing right now is just coming from a very deep, extreme place of emotion. After he released his second video, Kat did release another response.
I've had a productive meeting with my lawyers, but after talking with them, this will definitely be the last video that I make regarding this subject. But before my legal team takes it from here, I want to leave you guys with this important information. Teva showed you guys the documents from the investigation that was hired by his mom, most likely through her insurance company, and those reports that said that the fire was started with candle negligence. But I'm going to actually show you the official statement from the actual Los Angeles Fire Marshal.
So this is what I've really been waiting for, some actual proof. So here Kat posts it looks like a photocopy of an official report from the city of Los Angeles. And it says that the cause of the fire was undetermined. What does this mean to us? There's really no proof either way on what caused the fire. We don't know. It could be a candle. It could be electrical. I think to be honest, I'm leaning more on like it not being a candle because she wasn't even home. She was on a book tour. So like can't really cause a fire if you weren't there. And if she's away on a book tour, unless the fire started the very first day where she was gone. If she left a candle on the very first day, the candle would have burnt out within the first day.
I see so many people saying, well, Kat, he won the lawsuit, so it must mean that he's right. Actually, no, he didn't win the lawsuit. There was no lawsuit in front of a judge and jury. We actually arbitrated outside of a court.
What she's saying here is basically she settled out of court, but it was basically to save her money because first things first, when you settle, it doesn't necessarily mean you're admitting guilt. It just means that it is more beneficial for you to just agree with the other party what is a number that works for them as far as payout. Because a lot of times, for example, if Teva's parents were saying, hey, we need like 100K to pay the home and Kat agrees or like they come down to like 95 or whatever it is, right? What it's doing is it's saving money because a court case could like get pushed out for years, right? And eventually what happens is because you're paying lawyers and also all the time you're putting into this, you could end up spending more than what the person was originally asking you for just because of lawyer fees and then also all the time you have to give up in order to do appearances, meet with your attorney, all that stuff. So I get what she's saying here. And yeah, it does not mean that she's admitting that she's guilty.
Teva says that I sent his sick mother a ton of hate mail. He also says that he has logins and all the passwords to his mother's email account. So why hasn't he posted the emails of all the hate mail? Because there is none. I did post all the emails that we had during the 3 years that I lived at that house.
That's a very good point. If you're saying that she harassed her mother to the point where like it was making her sick, why haven't you shared any of that? I do think that's not something the mother would have deleted because she would have given that to the lawyer if they were planning to try to go to court. So that's a very good point. Like, I don't understand why he didn't share that.
Okay, I cannot be held responsible for his mother's cancer progression. She was diagnosed prior to the fire even happening in 2010 and didn't pass away until 2025.
I did not know that his mother had cancer before the fire. So, I guess Kat didn't actually cause the cancer. So, but the way he's framing it is making it sound like because of the stress that she went through is why his mother had cancer. So that's not cool. And she passed in 2025. So that was like 15 years she had cancer for. Unless she had gone into remission and then it came back. When did it come back? Did she actually go into remission? I don't know. I just feel like all the information that we're getting right now and that Kat is debunking, and just from like the stuff that I saw that he chose to share as receipts, it's making his case worse. That's the last thing that Confidante posted, and she basically said, hey, you keep talking, I'm gonna get with my lawyers. And I do think like based on everything that Teva has said so far, that he is opening himself up to liability, to be honest. Like, it's published, which also puts it into defamation. The things that he's saying is not necessarily coming from facts. He's not presenting like actual like factual information. I know he presented the screenshots from the lawyer, but grain of salt with that one. Teva ended up posting one more video and he basically was saying like, hey, he's not a drama channel. He didn't want to cause any drama. He just wanted to like tell his truth basically. And I think basically he got the message from Kat's video where she said like, yo, I'm not going to say anything else. My lawyer is going to take care of it from here on out. And, for his sake, I think that is a good idea. But he did end with showing parts of the home. And honestly, the home is beautiful. I see why anybody would want to live there, why it was in the first Frankenstein movie. He definitely is refurbishing it. So I think that it's going to be a good opportunity for him to share something that his mother loved with people. I hope that this attempt of him telling his truth doesn't negatively affect that. Honestly, it probably won't. Like, Hollywood is just so like, I don't want to get into it, but like, people don't care as long as it benefits them. So if the house fits what they're looking for, he's going to be fine. Yeah, let me know where you guys are on this situation. Definitely, when I first saw the video, I was like, I think I was really roped in by his storytelling. And I was like, holy shit, Kevin Lee caused this guy's mom to have cancer and die. Like, so I was really invested. But like, I think after watching both of Kat's videos, I think she raises some great points. It is unfortunate that his mom died. Teva, if you see this, my condolences. But I don't think that he is operating from a place rooted in fact, and it is rooted in emotion. And I think that Kat did a good job of debunking the things that he was saying and raised really good points. I think by the end of it, I was more so on her side. Let me know how you guys feel about this situation. This is my first like live react to like actual video. So I'm sorry if it's not like up to par, but I'm working on being better. I hope you guys are doing great. I hope you guys have a great week and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.